Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the Stepson of Krypton,
Nah, Mantis.
and today we are talking about unofficial rumors. Always going to be upfront with you guys. Unofficial rumors that Superman 2 has gotten a release date. Mantis, I know there's a little bit to talk about here, but again, it's all unofficial. Are you ready to get into the discussion?
I am ready.
Then let's go. All right, guys. So obviously, Superman, the new Superman. It's just so weird because what do you say? Superman Legacy. That's not what
Mhm.
it's called. Superman 2025. We'll say that. Um, is still out in theaters as of time of recording. It's probably going to be out according to Gunn for at least another week or two. It's got its Blu-ray DVD release date here in September, but we've gotten, I say we, like they didn't send them to us directly, but there's been several unconfirmed reports that Gunn has already, we know that there's been several projects in the DCU that have been greenlit due to the success, whether you want to believe it or not, of the Superman movie, but that Superman 2 is getting a release date. And the interesting thing is it puts it out literally 2 years from the date that this Superman just released. I don't know. It's interesting to think about that. I mean, you would literally already have to be planning this movie. It would need to go into principal production starting next year, and then if they do similar to this one, we're going to do a year or close to it worth of VFX and, trying to make sure everything's right. So, he's obviously got to already have plans in mind and start writing because he's said multiple occasions he is not going to start a movie project without the script. Mantis,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we've he's mentioned that plenty of times, I feel like, or maybe I've just read the same tweet 40 times. I don't know.
The truth.
Um, yeah, yeah. I think the timeline on the movie stuff is kind of baked into the fact on this reboot. Both Saffron and him have our overarching storyline, major plot points that they want to hit for this arc of the DCU of Gods and Monsters era or phase or whatever he's calling it. I don't know what is it called. It's not a phase. It's Gods and I don't know what they call it. What he's calling it, but we know
Start
that it's
one.
yeah. So we know
Chapter.
Gods and Monsters. Yeah,
You can't call it phase. He wanted to, and he's like, "Fuck, what do I got?" Okay, it's chapter.
yeah. So I mean, we have to expect that they have an overarching, especially. We know where we want to start. We know where we want to end. Maybe some middle big plot points here, but kind of the individual scripts of those movies, as long as they kind of follow that direction, are kind of up in the air. The action that goes on, maybe some minor plot mechanisms can be tweaked in here because it's not going to affect the major plot points. And I would have to expect after writing Superman the first one, he was already starting on Superman 2, even if it didn't get picked up. He's just doing his due diligence because if it does do well, which again, like you said, it doesn't matter if it doesn't hit the numbers. It doesn't matter what trolls on the internet or even, you know, apparently some critics think. All it matters is if the studio still greenlights the next phase or the continuation of the project, right? That's all that matters. And they gave him the green light. It's what it looks like.
Green light! Green light! Martin Madrazo, give you green light!
And that means we're go. It doesn't matter anything else. So, I would assume as well that he'd been working on this script for a while. There's some rumors. Again, this is all speculation at this point, but there have been some quotes from various people um, inside of the DCU, Zaslav or Saffron, even James Gunn has posted here and there that kind of give you little tidbits. And who knows, maybe some of these little quotes and things are kind of just cannon fodder to kind of drum up speculation like they do. But who knows?
Well, I think it's interesting because you know, and I know people think now that we or at least I do. I won't speak for Mantis, but I love the new Superman movie. That I all of a sudden now hate Man of Steel. No, I love Man of Steel. I wish we would have gotten a sequel, right? That was the one
Oh
big
yeah.
thing I wish we would have gotten. And it's interesting now that if these rumors are true, that we potentially within 2 years are going to get a sequel. because this is the flagship movie now. If you think about what happened in Marvel in phase one, there was only one hero that had two movies in the phase one, and that was Iron Man, who was the one that launched the franchise. So Iron Man got a second movie before they did an Avengers movie. It looks to be maybe DC might be taking some notes out of their playbook and saying, hey, we're going to get a Superman sequel, because it would be kind of nice to see a more Superman centric movie where I know Guy and them showing up, I don't feel like was a big part. Like, oh my god, it was a Justice League type of movie. They just kind of helped here and there and added some comic relief. So it would be nice to see another Superman centric movie. I'm sure we're going to see a little bit of Superman in the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie. So it'd be cool to see that, and then we launch into something bigger. Obviously, Peacemaker at time of recording is literally going to release tomorrow, at least the first episode, which is going to lead off right from the Superman movie. So it's kind of interesting that they could potentially be taking kind of similar format in that oh, Superman will get a second movie before we get out of chapter one, Gods and Monsters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as I mentioned kind of previously about the teases and the comments by the various people there at DC Studios, there's some things that they've said that is a little weird. James Gunn has said this. This has been quoted several times about him saying the sequel is a little different than what one might expect. I don't know what that means. I mean, even the CEO, Discovery CEO David Zaslav was saying, he specifically used the term super family. So he said in the next film in the super family. What, like, does that mean like there's going to be? I mean, we already know Crypto and Supergirl. Are they going to bring in Superboy? Like, are we going to meet? Like, what does that mean? Was James Gunn, in James Gunn's words, the story a little different than what one might expect? Like, what do we expect? So I'm expecting a continuation of the Superman character and him growing, probably some more tribulations with Lois. Maybe Lois gets captured, type of thing. He's got to go save her, or maybe an expoundation on the Justice Gang with him kind of becoming more involved in that. But apparently, don't expect that because that's not what he wrote. So I'm sure, and this is the best thing about the internet. Rumors speculate, they get moved around. He'll say another little word here and there, and then we can make a video on it, which we appreciate you guys checking in on this one as well. Helps us make these videos. So I'm here for the speculation. That's what drives viewership and discourse, like we always want in our comment section. So I just don't know. It's so vague. Like I don't even know what to take from that stuff.
And he loves doing that sometimes, right? Being overly vague, and then lets the speculation, lets the fire fuel, and then he will respond to it and say, nope, that's not what it. But here's the other thing I will say. We talk about speculation, okay, because this could very well all be speculation. That we know the Batman.
I'm the Batman. You're Batman. Okay. I don't mean to be Sean Parker here, but you can drop the. Nobody wants to go to the Facebook.
Part 2 had got pushed back to release in 2027 as well, which would also put it's going to start principal photography in late this year or 2026, right? So these two movies could potentially be filming at the same time. Typically, when you're dealing with two larger heroes, especially on the same team, you're usually only going to see that. The first thing you're thinking is they're going to cross over some way. Now, we know that Matt Reeves, they're all doing the Elseworlds timeline, and it's supposed to be completely separate. James Gunn has come out and said blatantly multiple times that Robert Pattinson's Batman is not going to be the Batman of the DCU. So we kind of already know all of that. But it was interesting that, if you've watched the end of the Thunderbolts at the post-credit scene, right? You get to see the Fantastic Four ship come in, and it says, oh, there's an extra dimensional ship, is what they say. That's the exact wording, extra dimensional ship. And you see the Fantastic Four. It's the ship from the First Steps movie, even though that released beforehand. And you see the four on there, okay? in the Superman movie, they said multiple times the extra dimensional rifts that this pocket dimension could be creating. So, are they going to use, again, speculation, are they going to use these extra dimensional rifts that could potentially open up to the Elseworlds timeline as and other timelines that maybe we get a Superboy from a different timeline or we get something else and this is where the super family is going to come from. Again, because maybe it's not something that you would expect and you're thinking about, but they're like, "Oh, hey, yeah, with all this going in and out of these pocket dimensions like it was just a freaking elevator, it tore this rift and we're able to bring in these other heroes. Maybe we bring in the Elseworlds timeline." So yes, he is not the Batman of this universe, but he is the Elseworlds Batman that is going to come into this universe because he never specifically said that. He just said he is not going to be the DCU's Batman. Didn't say he wouldn't show up. So
Yeah, there's a
more
little
speculation.
wording, tricky wording there by them
Lawyers
for sure.
speak, right? You know?
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, it's not a like even before Superman came out, we've seen this. We mentioned this before. You mentioned it with Peacemaker. That this is a thing. I mean, it's they even directly say it in the Peacemaker 2 trailer.
Yeah,
Like,
it's happening.
they're yeah. So I mean, this is happening. I mean, this gives them the window to write that in there. Now, again, I don't hate the multiverse as much as I hate like killing people off and bringing them back, and I think that's a vehicle for it. If you use it correctly, it's okay. It's just like I don't like the idea of bringing dead people over back via that. Like, I hate that idea. If you're bringing a different character that plays that character completely into here, it's not the same actor uh that has been in a previous character or something like that. I'm fine with that. It gives a little nod. Or if they're like, again, the way even Zack Snyder did it with Ezra Miller kind of popping in to the Batman v Superman movie.
She's the key.
Ezra Miller pops in there and kind of is like this Elseworlds thing, and then you see fucking Ezra Miller show up in the Flash series, right? In the crossover event.
Is this cosplay? Oh, do you want a selfie, bro? I'm sorry.
I don't. We're not. No, I'm also the Flash.
You also the what?
I mean, I'm that like that type of stuff. I'm cool with that. Like that's fine. It's a current character pops over, little cameo thing to kind of tie things together. It's a little boost to views and gets people talking. I'm all cool with that. So if Robert Pattinson shows up or the Penguin shows up, something like that, I'm cool with that type of stuff. It's just who knows? They kind of leave it open to interpretation quite a bit.
Well, the problem you run into right now is the only successful things you have in your Elseworlds timeline are the Penguin series, the mini series, is what they've called it, they listed as, and the Batman. I mean, the Batman, Robert Pattinson's Batman did what, almost 800 million, so
Yeah.
it was pretty successful, in terms of, what we look at is, I mean, it obviously made its money back and it was profitable. So that's it, right? So yeah, you maybe you do bring this character in, and maybe there's some kind of a crossover, and then while you're still trying to figure out what you want your DCU Batman to look like. So I don't know. Again, all speculation, but the devices are there to set that up, right?
They want to do it. Yeah.
Everything that they've got there, they've got the ability, and it's all kind of laid into the storyline. And I gotta imagine they kept mentioning extra dimensional rifts. It's going to come into play again. It is in Peacemaker, right? And getting that one, so they're going to take advantage of that. They were just laying the groundwork. So,
Yep.
I don't know. I'm excited to see. I love the idea of getting a sequel to a Superman movie because it's been a very long time. Because I know Superman Returns was technically a sequel.
What? Make it original? Why would I do that when I can make a sequel?
It wasn't, though. It tried to be, but it really wasn't. It was a reboot-ish sequel. So, we haven't had a sequel for a very long time to a Superman movie.
You retconned 2 movies from the OG series, and then you inserted it fucking 25 years later, whatever it was. Like, I don't consider that a sequel. Like, that's just me. Like I wouldn't consider, like you said, it's a reboot, is what it is. Like it's a, you could say it's the same storyline, but it's okay.
You were trying to play off the nostalgia of the first 2
Yeah.
movies and then be able to almost kinda, like, retcon it where then now he's with Lois and he's got the kid, and all this other stuff, and you were trying to take it there, and it just didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, that was the path to go. So it's been a very long time, technically, since we've had a Superman sequel. I'm excited to see what he has in store for that. And
Yep.
added by the time then that would come out, we obviously will be through Peacemaker. We should hopefully have already seen the Lanterns, hopefully, TV show, and maybe a few others here too.
There is a lot of scheduled releases in the DC animated side of stuff. There's My Adventures with Green Lantern, which is it's a version, a woman version of the Green Lantern. I think she's uh, Mexican. I think I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's Starfire and DC Superpowers. So there's, I mean, they're going full force in the animated series too. Now, as we've discussed, we don't know for a fact that those particular ones are going to be interlinked with what is the main overarching storyline of the DCU. I mean, we've seen like the DC Commandos, or Creature Commandos. Why did I say DC Commandos? Creature Commandos. Yeah, yeah. Is before the Superman movie. I mean, Peacemaker, obviously not animated, but it is a TV series that's integrated with the overarching storyline of this. And James Gunn has mentioned that all is going to be intertwined, but we don't know. I mean, some of these are kind of off the wall stuff.
As well, we know Guy Gardner not only is going to be in, Nathan Fillion is going to be in Peacemaker season 2, at least for a little bit, but we also know he's going to show up in Lanterns, and that one's going to be interesting because he says he dropped more f-bombs in one day on set, like recording for that, than he has his entire career. So we know that we're going to get that kind of more R-rated ish style with Lanterns, but he's in all of those. So everything seems like it is kind of being more cohesive, and it is spilling over into the comics as well as, regardless of what you think about happened to the DCU to the DCU, the DC animated has always been top notch in my book. They've rarely had any misses in the DC animated world. So
Injustice is kind of the only one that I just didn't care for. It's kind of meh. I actually, that movie, compared to like even what you see in the cut scenes of the video game cut scenes, is just watch the video game cut
dude,
scenes.
if you go on YouTube, you can find it's like 2 hours and something of the cut scenes of Injustice.
Way better.
Do you just fine?
It's way better than the movie. Yep.
So
yeah, way better.
All right, guys, if you have made it with us this far, consider giving the video a like, showing you, subscribing to the channel, and having your little bell notifications clicked and doing all the YouTube stuff so you don't miss out on when we've got all these new videos coming out, because we're still getting more and more rumors, and it's probably going to be the same thing as it was before Superman release, that it's going to trickle down, and every 1 out of 100 he'll debunk, and he'll finally step in and say something to it as well. We're going to be doing more on the Peacemaker season 2 releasing to see how it ties into the DCU, as well as everything we got going on in the comic book world, because in Absolute Green Lantern, which just released, by the way, we're seeing a female Green Lantern. We got Sojourner Mullen in there. She's one of the female Green Lanterns. So could there be a tie-in there? We don't know. A lot's going on in the Absolute world. And if you want to keep up with it, have the bell notifications clicked. Mantis, do you have anything else?
No. Again, reminder, Superman is still in theaters, as you mentioned. You can still go watch it on the big screen. Highly suggest that. If not, and you're lazy, you just want to rent it, you can do that, or buy it digitally. You can do that.
Do not fucking rent it. Just buy it. It's like $5 more to own it. Even if you're going to buy the Blu-ray that has the digital copy free, you might as well don't rent it for 48 hours if you can pay $5 more and buy it and own it. Then you give your digital copy code to a friend who's not going to get it. Like, boom, there you go. Save them some money. Don't just rent. Renting's so stupid if it's at that price.
I agree. But yeah, we already pre-ordered our versions on Amazon, so you can do that as well. Other than that,
all right, guys. Well, that is going to do it for us on this episode of You, Me, and DC. Until next time, guys, We'll see you then.
Later.